Africa for years has been an exciting place for finding significant hydrocarbons. It continually evolves and new places are being explored now. I think obviously the other, as you saw in the presentations earlier today, the other side of the equation is demand is clearly going to increase. There's, as the population increases, young population, as these people require more energy, then the consumption will go up as well. So not only do you have an attractive areas to explore for oil and gas, you have a local demand which is going to increase. The good thing nowadays is you're seeing, particularly at today's conference, is that whereas 2 or 3 years ago, when the oil price declined, people were not looking to explore in the deep water African regions. It was not attractive to them. But in reality, if you do make a big substantial discovery in one of these countries, the returns are enormous. There's a long history of companies made a big success of it, like Tullow, Cosmos, etc. And so the opportunities to actually find hydrocarbons are still very good. The other side of the equation is the local demand is taking off. The challenge, I think, back in 2014 was there's a lot of countries around Africa that were locked into a fiscal regime at $100 a barrel, and then suddenly it became uneconomic. There was, however, some countries that had an attractive regime, like where we are in Namibia and Senegal, and because of that, they saw continuing of the investments in exploration. And now we're coming to a sort of a renaissance in the oil prices coming back again. And what's happening is that the majors are starting to come back in a big way. In Namibia, in 2011, it was a very lonely place. Since then, we've had Tullow come in, we've now got ONGC, we've got Total, Exxon have come in as well. And the reason is they see all the attractiveness offshore in terms of the subsurface, the potential there, particularly on the back of some of the data that we've been acquiring, combined with the fiscal regime onshore. It's a great incentive to explore. There is a balance between the risk and the reward. And so what was the other side of the equation, seeing some of the bigger companies interestingly talking about the shale revolution in the States, whereas it still is an important part of the production equation. We can't assume that that's going to go on forever. Clearly there's some shale plays in the States will, over longer term, will be drilled out or will not work. We need success in Africa to fill the consumption. The infrastructure in places like Namibia is ideal because you've got a deep water port. So when the oil service companies want to put their rigs off tender, they put them in Walvis Bay, either Walvis Bay or Las Palmas. And so when we, with Chariot, commissioned the rig, it's sitting in Walvis Bay. There's no mobilisation. I think in terms of the actual infrastructure, in terms of personnel, there's I call them very intelligent, young, highly motivated people. They want to make it work. And so for us, it was a very easy decision. We decided that we'd develop the expertise in Namibia, we're committed to it, and now they work on projects outside Namibia in Windhoek. So there's obviously going to be challenges going forward, particularly if you were to make a large gas discovery or large oil, but it's there's enough infrastructure there with the deep water port to make it easy. I think the other thing is when you are actively exploring Namibia, the operating environment's benign offshore. It's the current's not too bad, the wave height's not too bad, the geology makes it, you don't need what we call many casing strings, so it's a relatively benign operating environment. We have to give credit to a lot of these smaller companies that persisted with their acreage. When 2014 happens, if you're a smaller company listed on London Exchange, they didn't want to spend any more money, the investors, but they kept at it, and now we're in a better place because we have a prospect bank to drill out. The majors, I think, are realising that opportunities will again become scarce, and so they're trying to restock ahead of that. So whereas if you were in a conference on Namibia or Africa 3 or 4 years ago, you wouldn't have seen the enthusiasm we've seen today. People clearly see that things are turning around. It's not back to where it was, but it's getting there. As the industry comes out, you can clearly see that compared to the last 2 or 3 years, this event is valuable by people who are attending. You've got a very good cross-section between the smaller players who are trying to make it work, the majors who are looking to restock, and so it's a great networking type of environment. And there's always the presentation you never thought about, so you can actually meet with people directly and say, we need to talk. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. You know, it's. I think I was at a conference 3 years ago, and there's only major companies there. The smaller companies couldn't afford to attend. So I think there's a definite uptick, and that's why it's valuable.